Cheruiyot Kirui, a Kenyan who died on Mount Everest, wanted to become the first African to summit the highest point on Earth without supplementary oxygen.
In 2023, Joshua Cheruiyot Kirui quietly made history. While most of the world was going about its day, this soft-spoken banker from Kenya became the first African to summit Manaslu, the 8th highest mountain on Earth, without supplemental oxygen. That's over 8,000 meters of brutal Himalayan terrain, climbed with nothing but lungs, legs, and sheer willpower. For many climbers, that achievement alone would be the peak, literally and figuratively, of a lifetime. But for Kirui, it was only a stepping stone. Less than a year later, on May 22, 2024, he stood on the frozen slopes of Mount Everest, poised to attempt something even more dangerous, summiting the highest point on Earth without oxygen. 48 meters from that dream, his body was found. This is the story of how an extraordinary mountaineer, one of the most humble and disciplined climbers the world barely knew, came closer than any African before him to touching the top of the world, only to be taken by the mountain just before the final step. By day, Joshua Kirui worked as a banker, not the kind of person you'd expect to be battling for breath in the death zone. He was methodical, focused, always composed, the kind of guy who managed other people's finances with a surgeon's precision. Colleagues at Kenya Commercial Bank described him as reliable, reserved, the one who always triple-checked everything. But what most people around him didn't know was that after office hours, Joshua Kirui was living a secret second life. A quiet obsession that involved ice axes, climbing ropes, and frozen peaks that pierced the sky. He wasn't just hiking hills or trekking trails. He was training to stand where only a few hundred humans have ever stood, the summit of the world, without oxygen. Born in Kenya's Rift Valley, a place famous for producing some of the world's fastest marathon runners, Kirui wasn't interested in flat ground. While others chased speed records on roads and tracks, he was drawn to mountains. Vertical, remote, unforgiving mountains. Kirui didn't start climbing early. He was already in his 30s when mountaineering entered his life. But what he lacked in early experience, he made up for with the same precision and strategy he applied to banking. He studied routes like spreadsheets. He trained obsessively. He analyzed risks and prepared with almost scientific discipline. His mountaineering resume speaks volumes. He climbed Mount Kenya not once, not twice, but 15 times. He even set speed records. On the Siraman route, he covered the distance from Old Moses to Lenana Summit in under 3 hours, a climb that takes most people a full day. He once summited Mount Kenya 3 times in a single day. That alone should have made him a national hero. And that was just the beginning. He tackled Mount Stanley in Uganda, a 6-day technical climb that demands both endurance and navigation skills. He took on Kilimanjaro several times, completing one of his ascents and descents in just 15 hours. But the true breakthrough came in September 2023, when he summited Manaslu, 8,163 meters, with no oxygen. No African had ever done that before, but even after that historic feat, Kirui stayed quiet. He didn't post victory photos, didn't boast. Even his co-workers at the bank barely knew what he'd accomplished. One family member said he made climbing sound like a regular trip. He just said he was going to the mountains like other people go to the office. Privately, though, he was already looking ahead to the ultimate challenge, to Everest. Climbing Everest without supplemental oxygen isn't just difficult, it's one of the most dangerous human endeavors. The summit, at 8,848 meters, lies deep inside the death zone, where oxygen levels drop to 1/3 of what they are at sea level. The human body isn't designed to survive there for long. Every step above 8,000 meters is a gamble. Climbers without oxygen face it all: cognitive failure, hallucinations, frostbite, hypoxia. Their hearts pound harder, their brains work slower, and every muscle aches for air that doesn't come. Only a tiny fraction of Everest climbers attempt it without oxygen. Even fewer survive it. Still, Kirui was determined, not just for personal glory, but for something bigger. He wanted to change how the world viewed African athletes, to prove that they didn't just dominate on roads and tracks, but could also shine in mountaineering's most elite circles. He joined 7 summit treks, one of Nepal's most well-known expedition companies. He was paired with a Sherpa guide named Nawang. For a no-oxygen climb, having an experienced guide isn't just helpful, it's essential. These guides are the ones who sense the unseen, subtle signs of altitude sickness, wind shifts, and body breakdown. They know when to push and, more importantly, when to turn back. Kirui understood that risk deeply. Before the climb, he wrote instructions. If anything went wrong, if he went lights out or started behaving erratically, Nawang was to give him oxygen. His words were clear: "When I realize I'm not Superman." May 22nd, 2024, Camp 4, nearly 8,000 meters above sea level. The weather was good. Skies were clear, winds manageable, a rare opportunity on Everest. Kirui and Nawang began their final push to the summit. They moved slowly, deliberately. Without oxygen, there was no other way. While climbers using bottled air might take 6 to 8 hours, no-oxygen climbers often need twice that. As Kirui climbed, his body was already breaking down. His heart strained to push oxygen-starved blood to his organs. His muscles ached. His mind, normally so sharp and cautious, began to fog. Clear judgment, so vital at that altitude, started to blur. Still, they kept going, step by painful step. At around 8,810 meters, just 38 meters from the summit, Nawang radioed in. Something was wrong. He said Kirui had briefly used oxygen, but was now refusing to descend. His behavior was off. He was acting strangely, but by then both of them were so deep in the death zone that help was almost impossible. What was going through Kirui's mind? Summit fever is real. It's not just a phrase. After years of training, sacrifice, and coming so close to history, the brain can betray the body. Logic gets overpowered by obsession. Even if every sign says, "turn back," the summit just steps away, screams louder. Experts believe that by this point, Kirui was likely suffering from hypoxia-induced cognitive failure. He wasn't thinking clearly anymore. He might have believed he could make it, or maybe didn't even fully realize how close to collapse he was. A rescue team was sent from Camp 4. They rushed upward, hoping for a miracle. They were too late. Joshua Cheruyot Kirui was found at 8,800 meters, just 48 meters below the summit. He had fallen into a crevasse, so close, closer than any African had ever been. Nawang Sherpa was never found. When news of the tragedy broke, the mountaineering world mourned. But shock soon turned to outrage when a disturbing detail came to light. Nawang Sherpa, the man guiding one of the most dangerous no-oxygen climbs in modern history, had never summited Everest before. The revelation came from James Moya, a close friend and climbing partner of Kirui. After the tragedy, Moya visited Nawang's family to offer condolences. It was there he learned the truth. Nawang had never been to Everest's summit, not even once. The shock hit like a sudden avalanche. Moya, who had trained and climbed alongside Kirui, couldn't believe what he was hearing. For a climb of this magnitude, especially one without oxygen, the guide's experience can mean the difference between life and death. It raised haunting questions. Had Kirui known? Would he have made the same decisions if he had? Why wasn't this disclosed from the start? Moya didn't go public out of anger, but out of heartbreak. He felt the world needed to understand the full picture. that this wasn't just a tragic accident, it was a system failure. A man attempting one of the most dangerous feats in mountaineering history had been paired with someone who'd never completed the route himself. No blame was thrown toward Nawang's character. Everyone acknowledged his courage. But the facts couldn't be ignored. An elite climber had unknowingly taken one of the greatest risks of his life without being fully informed. For Muya, the silence around Nawang's qualifications wasn't just a footnote, it was a devastating revelation that reframed the entire story. It was a gut punch. How could a company as established as Seven Summit Treks assign a guide with no Everest summit experience to such a high-risk climb? It was like asking someone with a learner's permit to coach in Formula One. In high-altitude mountaineering, guide experience can be the thin line between life and death. A seasoned Sherpa knows when a climber is in trouble before it's obvious, knows the terrain's tricks, knows when to push and when to pull back. That kind of judgment only comes from being there, doing it, surviving it. The fact that Kirui wasn't informed about Nawang's inexperience raises serious ethical questions. Did the company disclose it? Did Kirui assume he was in expert hands? Did he have a choice? The climbing community demanded answers. It wasn't just a tragic death anymore, it looked like a preventable failure. And then came the impossible choice. Kirui's body remained just meters below the summit. Recovering it would have required a team to venture back into the death zone, where even survival is uncertain. After intense discussions with mountaineering experts, rescue coordinators, and their own hearts, Kirui's family made a decision no family should ever face. They chose to leave him where he fell, on the mountain he loved. It wasn't an easy choice. It never is. If you found this story powerful and want more untold tales from the edge of human endurance, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And if you're already part of this channel's journey, thank you for climbing with us.